The Spin-off Podcast Network.
Are you making the most of your KiwiSaver investment? Generate is an award-winning KiwiSaver provider with a track record of strong long-term performance. Making a smart decision now could add tens of thousands of dollars by the time you reach retirement. Book a no-obligation chat with a Generate KiwiSaver advisor today at generatekiwisaver.co.nz/get-advice. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
I'm Toby Manhire, and this is Juggernaut, the story of the Fourth Labour Government, a podcast in 6 parts.
Doesn't give my opponents much time to run up to an election, does it?
This nation is at risk.
What do you think you're up to now, you perverted little liar?
I could smell the uranium on it as you lean towards it.
There's a radical overhaul in the history of New Zealand's administration.
Juggernaut, the story of the Fourth Labour Government, made with the support of New Zealand On Air. Listen now on The Spin-off or wherever you get your podcasts. Kia ora tātou, this is Toby Manhire with another episode of your friendly local politics podcast, Gone by Lunchtime. What you're about to hear is part of the Gone by Lunchtime Megapod, a 12-hour epic event recorded on September 20 at Spin-off HQ. Enjoy. David Seymour, thanks for coming in again.
Yeah, no worries.
It's been a very act-laden hour. You've been at Auckland Grammar for a debate there today?
Yeah.
Is that an Epsom debate?
Yeah, they do a debate every 3 years when there's an election for the candidates. So it's always a
And
nice
you're an
event.
old boy.
I went to school there, yeah.
So what's that like? Does that bring back rich and happy memories?
Yeah, for the most part. As long as you don't go to the boarding part, it's all good.
Were you? Oh, right. Was that not a good experience for you?
Oh, it was. I always say it wasn't not a good experience, but it's just like, if you had the choice of having your own room, living with your own family, you'd probably choose that, right?
Because because it relates to the question du jour. Were you a champion debater at school or university?
No. I joined the debating society near the end of uni.
Oh yeah,
and I didn't think I was very good, but that was a long time ago. So hopefully I can improve.
Yeah. Well, did you watch last night?
I did.
What did you think?
Not much.
Would you like to have seen more? What more? More conviction.
It was the opportunity for two people who, between them have 2/3 of the vote nearly, to actually set out, these are some challenges New Zealand faces, and here's some ways we could overcome them. Whereas a lot of it seemed to be about why the other one's plans wouldn't work rather than what could work. And I just think New Zealand's at one of those points where we need some policy change and really some policy innovation, and it didn't really come out of that, and really neither of them were much different from each other or the status quo.
And that's your position. Don't tell me about the different Chris with a different coloured tie. I refuse to hear that line again. But there is a sense that this is sort of a small target campaign where you guys and the Greens and Te Pāti Māori and various others have quite strong ideas about how New Zealand should change, and the two main parties seem less so inclined to paint bold visions.
Yeah, well, look, I think a lot of things are not going that well, and that's just not me. That's people. If you look at where New Zealanders are up to on the simple question, we go in the right direction or the wrong direction.
Sure,
it's overwhelmingly wrong direction. When you have times like that, you need to set out stuff like I think we did today as ACT, that we put out our education policy about how basically we would ramp up the measurements on attendance and achievement, ramp down the micromanagement, and then ramp up ultimately the trust in the profession to deliver the results. That's the kind of discussion I think we need to be having. I think productivity is huge. You've got aging population, mental health, climate change changes what you're going to be able to do as time goes on. You've got geopolitics where you can't really rely on one market and one product. All of that stuff's going to be easier to deal with if we think really hard about productivity. But, for a generation, New Zealand hasn't really been talking about that word. So those are the kinds of things that I would have hoped to see.
Just on education briefly, when you if you get to a position where you're negotiating, do you want to get whole pieces of things? Like, I mean, there's different ways you can dice it, and you've made the point before about in our experience of MMP, it's usually a very small kind of bolt-on, whereas the government you would like to form would be a coalition with maybe 6 active, like a proper sizable chunk. And if you get to that governing position, would you rather have, like, we'll take education, we'll take infrastructure, we'll take regulation, or would you rather have, if you will, a sort of little bit of each, have your impact of that in each? Does that make sense as a question?
Yeah. No, it's a really interesting question, and to be honest, I've thought about it a lot, and they both have their attractions, and I don't really have a clear answer to that. You can either say, look, we're all on the same team, we basically merge and deal with each issue as a merged team, or you can say, okay, as you say, you guys are responsible for infrastructure, education, and police, and everything else is ours. I suspect it's going to be more of the merged team approach, to be honest. I think it makes more sense to be checking each other's homework, as James Shaw sometimes says, about these things. So, yeah, I suspect we're in the merged area, but I could be wrong about that.
Interesting. I've got a question that's come in from listeners, and it is they need to know, not want to know, what David's Wendy's order is.
Oh, single with cheese, quarter-pound single with cheese, fries, and Coke with sugar.
Wow. Coke with sugar. See, that's the other way that you're different from the Chris's. You have real sugar in your cola.
Look, you want to get a little bit of the real thing rather than a lot of like fake sugar, which is probably even worse for you.
We're asking everyone who comes on this Megapod 3 questions.
Fair enough.
First one is where you will go in opportunity to win a box of chocolate fish, a lot of sugar in that. And the question is, can you pick to 1 decimal point what the turnout will be in the election after specials, the final turnout for 2023 election?
78.4.
78.4. Where am I writing these down? 78.4. Thank you. I don't know if you watch political television, but a lot of politicians, a lot of media do watch the West Wings and the thick of it and stuff. Is there one, if you were on a desert island and you were given one show in that general hemisphere, which one would you take to watch?
I'd read a book. I think those shows have done so much damage because you've got a whole class of people who have come into politics thinking it's about the game, and I won't name them, but one particular politician who has come a cropper and gone.
Jamie Lee Ross.
I'm not going to say who it was, but it
is Jamie Lee Ross.
If it was that person, they would be the person that had the House of Cards theme song as their ringtone, and were absolutely fixated. And I think that's an extreme example, but it's not the only example of the effect those shows have.
Interesting.
Politics not a game. It's a way of trying to represent people and produce better policy. But when the politics itself becomes the game, then you've got a problem.
Okay. It's also, we've sort of talked about this before, but part of it is, you need to have, this podcast we're doing today is a bit stupid. Yeah, but, and it's needs to be fun. They need to have an element of entertainment and liveliness, right?
If you're talking all day and broadcasting continuously, is that when does a podcast become a radio show? Aren't you doing a radio? Is it just that you're too cool to be a radio DJ?
No, it's that we're too poor and too unloved to get a radio show. It's quite the opposite.
Fair enough.
Okay, last one. Mojo. Christopher Luxon has been talking a lot about Mojo. New Zealand getting its Mojo back. We were asking everybody on a scale of 0 to 10, your own personal Mojo. Where are you? 0, none, gone, evaporated. 10, absolutely fizzing with Mojo. Okay.
Well, I'd put myself at about the 8. 8? Things are pretty good, but you can always get better.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Are you knackered yet, or are you doing okay? Are you hanging in there?
No. I'm kind of an extrovert when it comes to campaigns, so I get more energised as time goes on, and I find the best thing to do if you're feeling tired is go out and campaign, because interacting with people gives you your own energy.
Okay. Thank you, David. Good luck with the rest of the campaign.
Thank you.
This is the Spin-Off Election Megapod. We will be back shortly with Andrew Geddes and then thereafter Grant Robertson. This is the Megapod. Back soon. Thanks for listening. There's plenty more where this came from on your Gone By Lunchtime feed. Thanks to Jane, Te Aihe and Samuel, and the rest of the team at The Spin-Off for making the Megapod happen.
Talofa lava. I'm Madeline Chapman, editor at The Spin-Off. If you have the means, consider supporting our high-quality journalism by becoming a Spin-Off member. Sign up now at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
Do you find it hard staying optimistic with all the financial news in the media? I'm Bernard Hickey, and on my podcast, When the Facts Change, I'm here to help you navigate the ever-changing landscape of economics in Aotearoa. So join the conversation every Friday on When the Facts Change, brought to you by the Spin-Off Podcast Network in partnership with KiwiBet.
The Spin-Off Podcast Network.